Previously on the Jay and Dan podcast.
I have so many questions. What are they fighting about? Where are they going? Are they going to a funeral?
He probably wanted a job. She wouldn't give him one before the funeral. But the ladies all look beautiful. Natasha and Tessa, they put on their fascinators.
We went there, and I went with Tessa Bonhomme, who we work with.
Yeah, I just mentioned her. I literally just said Natasha and Tessa.
Those hats look great. Natasha had one on.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier as well.
Okay, so
should we just stop and let you take a break?
We got into chatting, and I told him how my neighbor across the street was named Dan. My neighbor 3 doors down's name is Dan. I have a buddy named Dan. This guy's name's Dan.
This has been Dan Talk.
We decided we are going to have a Dan Fest. And then we just need to book Steely Dan. All Dans get in for free. All women get in for free, but non-Dans, $50.
Oh, yeah, that seems like a lot.
Tall boys? Too big. You got to go to the little boys.
You're listening to the Jay and Dan podcast, presented by our good friends at Coors Light.
You'll get frostbite all over your lips.
Dance. Dance.
Jay and Dan, Josie and Andre. Jay and Dan, Josie and Andre. Dan sounds like he's 85 years old. If you've heard him call for the stories that he's told, he'll talk about his mangled childhood and roots, or how at work he's afraid of a harassment suit. The guy's recording a different studio every time, and Jay keeps saying he'd rather shower so he doesn't have to wipe. Cause yeah, Jay likes to talk about poop, and well, that basically covers it for him. Jay and Dan. Chelsea, right there, bud, or dance. Jay and Dan.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's a blast from the past as we get started on the July 9th, 2018 podcast.
I forgot that we recorded in a bunch of different studios, Christoph. Well, but I always seem to remember that first incarnation of the pod being at the Chum Building downtown.
Downtown, yes.
But
The first one we ever did was actually in the studio you're sitting in right now.
Really?
Yeah. It was during a Thursday night football game. That was the only time we could use the studio.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What memory. Man, you're like a vault.
And people might not remember Andre, but that stems from I went to get work done on my old Lexus that I sold for $500. And the lady at the desk was like, "Oh, yeah, I watch your guys' show all the time. Even that Andre?" I'm like, "Yep, Andre."
Yeah, I got a lot. When I would go out after that, I got a lot of Andre, a lot of that. I don't get it as much anymore. But that was pretty funny. Funny.
The countdown to summer vacation is one day closer.
I'm so glad you brought that up. because we are going to take a little podcast break over the vacation. And it's important that everyone knows we'll be back. Better than ever. But we will be doing this week, and then we'll do the podcast next week. And then that's it.
And then it's bye-bye.
Until Labor Day week. So first week of September. So we got 2 more, this one and 1 more, and then we're back on Labor Day. So take some time with your family, your friends,
because
your lovers.
In the summer, come on, it's to be outdoors, not listening to podcasts.
Or listening to old podcasts of ours outdoors. Catching up. Maybe you've fallen behind. I talk to a lot of people who like to, they're like, I'm a couple behind, but I'm binging them. They like to watch them in a row, like a Netflix television series. And we appreciate that. That's totally cool that you do that.
I know a lot of Canadians will be going into Toronto for summer vacations. I was just in there with my daughters for dinner and a
You're
show.
just in there.
It was in there. It was in Toronto for a dinner and a show. You know what I realized after going to the show? We saw Potted Potter, by the way. There's something to do with Harry Potter.
In there.
When kids that don't live in Toronto go to Toronto, this theater's right on Yonge Street, so you're in the heart of it. You're in Toronto.
Yeah. Right? Just south of Bloor on Yonge.
98% of the entertainment is them just walking up Yonge Street.
Especially
we saw
there,
a guy standing on top of a fire hydrant yelling stuff. Then we later came back and he was like sitting down having a McChicken combo.
Yeah, there's a nice McDonald's right there at Charles and Yonge.
They just were like, it's just eyes or heads on a swivel walking down there.
Now,
Walking by a sex shop, I'm like, please, girls, I hope they didn't see that window display. I don't want to describe what those
that was
displays
Seduction.
are.
Seduction's the Walmart of sex shops.
Walking by the brass rail, I'm like, okay,
The
I hope
rails right there. I was just going to ask you about that. What do you say when you pass the rail and they got all those pictures of half-naked women in the front?
As a father of 2 young girls, you hope that they don't notice it, or B, choose not to ask because they don't know what's going on.
I mean, all you can do is be a great father because everyone working there didn't have one. A great father, I mean. They might have had a dad, but he wasn't a good one. So
luckily, went by both, 0 questions asked, so saved it for another day.
Man, you really dodged a bullet there. Potted Potter. Yeah, you're right, though. It is an interesting... And that stretch of, if you're not familiar with Toronto, that stretch that you're talking about between... Now it's basically between Bloor and Wellesley on Yonge hasn't changed much since the early 90s when I moved here. The rest of Yonge is totally changed. It's totally gentrified. It's way more upscale, or at least just mall-like. But that stretch, if you want to go back in time, if you want to take a little trip back to the 90s, just hop on the subway, get off at Yonge and Bloor, and then walk south to Wellesley, and you'll see, as Dan said, some pretty crazy.
Some of the stores, you're on Yonge Street in Toronto. I don't know how they afford the rent. You look in, and it's all like pants from the 80s that are still brand new, but they just haven't sold them. They're just waiting for racks and racks of pants.
I would love to know who owns the majority of those buildings along Yonge Street. Yeah, and what is the rent? I'm asking a Dan question here. What is the rent on... Because that seems like primo real estate. But they just knocked down, right at Yonge and Bloor, on the southwest and southeast corner, big buildings to build giant condos there. So you got to believe eventually that it's going to gentrify. But some parts of Toronto don't seem to ever gentrify. East of Jarvis comes to mind. That is...
This has been Toronto Talk.
Yeah, sorry for everyone outside of the city. That's kind of boring.
You went to your first Jays game of the season?
Yes, I went on Saturday. It was an excellent experience. Beautiful day, but not too humid. I know you had discussed on a previous podcast that you had an issue with the time it took you to get into the dome.
Yes.
Security was, which is important. It was maybe a little slow. We were fortunate enough because we had the TD tickets. We went right in, swung right in there. And then we were in the shade the whole game. Like, it was the nicest baseball viewing experience I think I've ever had at the Dome. And they lost. 2 home runs hit off J-Happ in the first 2 pitches, basically. But it was great. Wonderful experience. And I felt bad as I sat there because there was about 40,000 people, a good crowd. Of course, the Yankees are in town, so lots of Yankee fans. But I felt kind of bad about on Sky Dome so much, as everyone knows I have for the last decade. Just
best.
Yeah, it's there. It's fine. It's fine. It was a good experience. It was fun. Hey, Dan, you brought up the city talk.
Yeah.
We did that Summer of Saskatoon song.
Yes.
And it was a massive hit. Mm-hmm. Everyone loved it. Well, now I'm embarrassed to say I don't know the artist. Christoph, do you have any idea? I don't know if I sent it to you.
Looks like it's Mr. John Rose.
John Rose. There you go.
Singer-songwriter.
Singer-songwriter John Rose. Thank you, Christoph. Very kindly put together a country version of Summer in Saskatoon. And it goes a little something like this.
Summer in Saskatoon. Everybody's going to get a gringo. Everybody's going to pew. The Bud's on Broadway. Summer in Saskatoon. Everybody's going to Sutherland. Everybody's hanging out. Midtown Plaza, 40 jewelry stores.
That was beautiful.
That was really good.
And I don't know who's harmonizing with them. Man, they sounded great together. We'll
Probably
have to find
he
out.
did his own backing vocals.
Maybe, yeah, he laid it down.
And I have to, before we get to our guests, I have to get this off my mind because I sent out a Twitter poll last week. It's still bothering me. I sent out this Twitter poll because we had Daniel Cormier, the new heavyweight champ of the UFC.
Yeah, crazy.
He was talking about a hockey experience he had, and he said he was brutal. I said, guess what? You're an ankle burner. And people start tweeting me. They're like, what are you talking about, Toolsy? It's ankle bender. I'm like, no, you idiots. It's not. So I sent out a Twitter poll. Said, was just informed that young people call a bad skater an ankle bender, not ankle burner. I have never heard bender in my life, so what is it? And then on the Twitter poll, 75% said ankle bender, 25% said ankle burner. I sent out a text to 4 NHLers on the way to this podcast while stopped at red lights. 3 former, 1 current. None of them had ever heard ankle bender. All were burner. And as they said, yeah, because that's an actual burn, calling someone an ankle burner. If you call them an ankle bender, you're calling them a human. You're like, oh, your ankle bends? Yeah, okay, it should. Ankle burner, friction, is causing burns on your ankles because you're such a bad skater. So I have someone to back up my my claim, and that's a friend of the podcast, Vince O'Toole, my brother. Vince.
Hello, boys.
Hi, Vince.
So, if I was wrong, my brother would be the first one to call me out. But
for sure.
You back me up on ankle burner, and why?
Well, I backed you up because it's there's a lack of poetry in the ankle bender. You wouldn't say the sky was as blue as a blue sky, or a girl you met was as beautiful as a beautiful girl. All the poets are dead.
Yeah, that's true. They are.
Like, the whole thing, I think, came about. It's just, some kid, probably named Devin. His dad's talking to him after the game. And you go, your friend there, he's a real ankle burn. And he's like, what does that mean? And it's like, well, his ankles bent over so far that they were burning on the ice. And Devin, the little arsehole, says, well, why didn't you just say his ankles were bending? And his dad apologized and said, I'm sorry, son, I should have done that. Let's go get some ice cream.
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. They just got to it quicker. They forgot about the burning. They stopped at the bending. And I should also say, like, Dan, the only thing I would say is I don't know why he was so surprised about the poll, because it was an online poll and young people are online. So obviously ankle bender is going to win the poll.
Well,
right?
Of course it is. It's like you dumb it down for every generation. This is a thing that I have thought since I was in high school, is that, you had to read Shakespeare and all this stuff. And I was also into some good music. But the Clash's Should I Stay or Should I Go is To Be or Not to Be from Hamlet. I swear to God, you listen to them, you read it, and you listen. Should I stay? There will be trouble, and it's the slings and arrows. And then if I stay, then it's the work.
There'll be double.
It will be double.
Yeah, I wonder if anyone's ever asked Johnny Rotten about that.
I don't think so.
Makes a lot of sense.
My own personal opinion. It's just like you dumb it down for everything. It's just like, like when I was a kid, nothing was on fleek. But, what am I going to do?
Is fleek still a thing?
I don't know if that's still a thing.
That's it. Like, I'm 47 years old. I don't know if fleek's still a thing.
Well, and Dan also brought up the 3 ex-NHLers had never heard of it. Yeah, no one. We're all old. I don't know why this is It's a debate. Like we're old. So that's
no, it's not. My dad would insult someone by calling them an armpit. But the way my dad, and you think, well, that doesn't mean anything. But the way my dad said it, oh, that guy felt it.
Driving by some farms on the way here, Vince, I'm sure you probably had flashbacks if you drove by farms right now as well. It's hay season.
It is.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Just, in the mow, 185 degrees, your head is hitting the top of the steel roof because you put in 100,000 bales, and it's a great time.
Well, thanks for coming on and defending me for ankle burning.
No problem. Anytime. That is one. It's just the kids today that is. Oh, those kids today.
And also, Vince, I know before we let you go, everyone would want to know, did you ever replace the phone and get a phone that had a complete keyboard? I guess it's all touchscreen now.
I'm on an iPhone 6 right now, I think.
You're doing great.
I think it's the 6S.
There you go. You got it all figured out.
The S stands for Sex Pistols.
All right, boys. I love you.
See you, buddy.
Talk to you.
Okay, take it easy. Bye.
It's my brother, Vince O'Toole. You can follow him. What the hell's his Twitter handle?
Vince O'Toole, I think.
Is it? I'll find that here.
He hasn't been tweeting as much lately.
V O'Toole.
V O'Toole.
1. V O'Toole 1 on Twitter.
I miss his tweets. He's a very, very witty guy on Twitter. I miss hearing from on the tweeter machine. I didn't know, because I didn't grow up on a farm. I didn't know what you were getting at with the hay season, but then I got it when he was talking about all the hard work you boys had to do.
Here's one of his tweets. There are some great Canadian names, Gord being the number one, but how about Farley?
Nobody calls their kid Farley anymore.
Just one, Farley Mowat's parents.
Were there any other Farleys? Other than Chris? And Kevin? God, I saw Kevin Farley open for Norm Macdonald once. It was the very personification of nepotism.
I saw him at one of Jay Glazer's parties, the only Jay Glazer party I ever went to in Hollywood.
Oh, God.
Along with David Spade was also there.
Well, one guy who was probably also there has played for many, many teams in England. Newcastle, Sunderland, Leeds, Wigan. He made 12 international appearances for Scotland, and for Major League Soccer fans and soccer fans in this country, they remember him as a former captain of TFC. And he has chosen to stay in Canada to live and to be a broadcaster at Canada Sports Leader TSN, and along with Luke Weilman and Christian Jack, has just done a spectacular job in our studio for the World Cup coverage. And he even, over this past weekend, sampled the orange juice that was on his desk, which made me so happy. He is Stephen Caldwell, and he joins us now on the Jay and Dan podcast. Stephen, how are you tonight?
I'm good, guys. How are you doing?
Oh, we're great. We're great. Are you World Cupped out, or are you like everyone else thinking this might be the best World Cup we've ever seen?
Yeah, I think it probably is. It's certainly the best World Cup that I've ever seen in my lifetime. Where sort of vaguely remember, or I can remember 1990, but not that consistently. 94 was my first World Cup where I was, filling out the wall charts and I knew every player and every team and trying to stay awake. As it was in the US, I was in the UK, obviously in Scotland, and trying to stay awake, watching all the games. And that was my World Cup that has a special place in my heart. But this is something else. The quality, the drama, the storylines, the upsets. We can go on and on. The goals, the quality of play, like I said, and many, many good teams in the World Cup that were a little bit of a surprise. We felt, were probably Sweden's and Switzerland and Senegal, going on, Japan, real surprises with the quality that they had.
If England wasn't still there, Stephen, do you think we'd be as into this World Cup? Because that's on another level, having England still alive.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, being a Scotsman, it's never nice when England win. They look like they're 2 games away from lifting the World Cup. We've been hearing about it every single week since 1966. So it's a bit concerning, but no, in all seriousness, it's great that they're in it. I think this England team's a little bit different from previous years, where they're young and they're fresh and they have this really positive vibe and attitude about them. We've talked about it a lot on air, Christian and I and Luke, and talking about how a lot of these guys came from lower league football or from tough sort of pathways, where a guy like Harry Kane, for example, who had to go on loan 3, 4, 5 times and had some difficult periods on loan. Even at Tottenham Hotspur, there was a few people within the youth ranks who wanted to cut him at different times. So these guys kind of know hardship, even though they're now at the pinnacle of the game and they're playing for top Premier League clubs. They kind of seem to remember where they came from, and they have a manager in Gareth Southgate who will not let them forget what it's about to play for England and to keep their feet in the ground and to treat every game with respect, every opponent with respect, and just be totally prepared. And I think he's done a wonderful job with a bunch of players that he has.
So you mentioned Harry Kane. He has to be the biggest breakout star of the World Cup. He was already a star in England, but now the entire world really knows exactly how great he is. You mentioned he plays at Tottenham. He plays for Tottenham Hotspur. It seems, and you say to yourself, if you're a casual fan, that doesn't seem like a big enough team for Harry Kane to be at. It seems like someone's going to come calling, the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids of the world. How long can he stay there, Stephen, and where might he go if he were to leave?
Well, I've got a feeling he might stay there his whole career, and you guys will probably think that's a bit strange with the quality that he has and the fact that he's potentially probably going to end up top scorer from this World Cup. But I just think that what they're building at Tottenham and the way he's such an integral part of that he might just stay there. Now that probably depends on success, and it's not so easy to get success in the Premier League or in English football because there's so many teams with so much money and prestige and history that the Manchester Cities now and the Manchester Uniteds of the past, Liverpool even, are coming back there. So it's not that easy to win, but I think Tottenham are pretty well positioned to do that, especially with people like Dele Alli, Harry Kane, Kieran Trippier, could go on and on, Jan Vertonghen, who, they've got a number of players who are still left in the last 4 of this competition. Hugo Lloris, they're almost 7 or 8 of their starting 11 are still in the World Cup with different nations. So it tells you what they have. But saying that, they don't win in the next 2-3 years, he's going to probably move. My bet would be Real Madrid. I just feel like he looks and acts like a Real Madrid player. I don't see him fitting in at Barcelona the same way they do at Real Madrid. And I think if he does leave, it will be to Europe and to a different league. So Real Madrid are probably one of the biggest sides in the world. I think he might go there one day.
Whatever happens the rest of the way for England, Harry Kane never has to pay for another beer in his life in England.
No.
Watching the fans celebrate, and again, I'm always wondering how much people are making and all that. These bars, during the England World Cup matches, they maybe make their revenue for an entire 2 years in this 1 month World Cup, considering the amount of drinking that must be going on there.
Yeah, they really do. One of my best friends runs a bar in the outskirts of Manchester where I used to live when I played for Burnley and for Wigan for a year. And I was there for a while. Brilliant little area. And he runs a bar and is very successful as long as England are in the tournament during the summer months. He always used to talk about that. So I know they're crushing it, and people are going to the pub and partying, from sort of mid-afternoon or whenever the game is, all through the night. They're going there early for the game, and it's very important to the bars and pubs in England. So long may it continue for the guys. They'll be cheering them on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Not just because they're English, but to keep that money coming in. And I think at this time, with the kind of political unrest with Brexit and stuff, and I'm definitely not going to go into any of the details, but it's a feel-good factor running through England, and you could say UK. I'm sure a lot of Scotland don't want them to win, but it's just nice that our main sport, which is football, and it always will be, has something to kind of cheer about. And, as you guys have probably heard, it's coming home, it's playing at every jukebox in every home, every car in the UK just now, which was a hit in the 1996 when the Euro Championships came to England, and it was a famous song then, and it's probably even more famous this time round. Everybody seems to be playing it on their Instagram, their Twitter, and singing it throughout the bars and streets and homes of England.
Do you miss home? You're here now?
Yeah.
What made you decide to settle here? And do you miss home, especially at times like this?
Yeah, I don't miss home because I love Canada so much, and I really mean that. I miss people, of course, and I miss little things. Chocolate. I definitely miss English chocolate, and I miss some restaurants. And obviously my family and friends. But I don't miss home as much because I love Canada so much. I love Toronto. It's a fantastic city. I came here for 8 weeks to start with to play for TFC, and I thought, I'll see what it's like, and who knows, I'll probably be back in the UK in maybe a year or two. And I just never wanted to go back. My kids loved it here, and we sort of set down roots and pretty happy here, and hopefully long may it continue. You never know in our profession, or even the profession I was in before in football world, that you can be taken anywhere to the US or to anywhere in Europe, and I'm always kind of open to different things, to listening to different things. But I'm very happy in Canada, and I'm very happy doing the job that I do for TSN as a broadcaster.
I'm glad you mentioned the chocolate, because I thought you would like it, because we've got Cadbury's over here. In the UK, they've got Cadbury's. The chocolate in the States, where we spent 4 years, garbage. Yeah. It's horrible.
Yeah. It's not the same, is it?
No, not at all. But the Canadian chocolate, I thought it would stand right up there. And plus, we've got all those UK chocolate shops around Toronto.
Yeah, you need to go to one of them and buy it, but it's not quite the same. We get a shipment in every time somebody comes from the UK to visit us. So we have a few bars just now. I'll bring a bar into you guys when you got one of the shows, and you can taste it and tell me what you think. There's nothing like it, I promise you.
Now, what other than the chocolate, what was the thing about Canada that was strangest to you, Stephen, that you said, well, I had no idea that this existed in this country?
It's a little bit like the US is very strange to us from the UK. We love it, and we find really weird things about it. But I think Canada's a lovely mix between what's great about the US and what's great about the UK. So that was really sort of comforting. And of course, there's so many expats and different nationalities and ethnicities in Toronto. That's what makes it such a great city and incredibly safe place. Driving is different. Of course, it's the other side of the road. There's nowhere near as many roundabouts, although there is a couple. There's actually 1-2 streets from me, and it's a little small one. And people they don't treat it with any respect. They just go whatever way they want. They just treat it like a stop sign. And I think in the early days that was another one, a stop sign. It's like, it's kind of like a roll sign. No, you actually have to stop. We're not used to that. There's not a car there. We just kind of rolling through, but you have to get up and running with the roads. But no, I love it. It's a great place. We're completely settled, and we've got, the people are amazing, so friendly and so welcoming. And from the moment we got here, everybody in our neighbourhood just, welcoming. The school's been fantastic, and we're very, very happy, and hopefully we can stay here for a long time.
How about the Canadian pubs? Because most of our pubs are like chains.
Yeah.
So we're like, this is what a pub is supposed to be like. How would you compare the pubs from Europe to Canada?
Yeah, very different. That is a big difference. The pubs are proper pubs in the UK. Some of them.
Now, what makes it a proper pub?
If you got a pub in Glasgow, you don't walk into any pub in Glasgow. You need to know who's in there, what it is, because they can be a little bit dodgy. They can be they can be a little scary, especially when you're going to watch a football game or something. You need to make sure it's a right pub for your side, or you're very much neutral, because it's different from here, whereas everybody's welcoming. And again, another great thing about Canada and Toronto is, you can walk into any bar and you can kind of be wearing your Habs shirt or whatever, and you can cheer a goal, the hockey goal, and people accept that. We accept that there's different people there, and everybody has a background and a team to support. Whereas if you go into Glasgow and you're in a Rangers pub, you don't cheer for Celtic.
That could be trouble.
Don't come out. You don't get back out, I promise.
That could be really trouble. I thought about you today, Stephen, because there's a Scottish pub by my house called the Caledonian on College Street.
We need to go.
Yeah, we can go together. Donna runs the place. She's a lovely Scottish woman, and I wondered if you had been. So I'm so glad to hear that you've been there, and maybe a little taste of home, maybe.
I've been a few times. times is brilliant. I think I saw your name on the board, actually.
Yeah.
You have a bottle. Yeah,
I do have a bottle there.
Share of whiskey, mate.
I do have a bottle of whiskey there. I didn't know that concept existed in the UK. She explained it to me. It's the greatest thing of all time, having a bottle of whiskey waiting for you there. Oh, it's fantastic. Listen, we're going to let you go. This has been so cool having you on the podcast. We got to get you on the show sometime. We got to drag you into the studio one night.
I'd love to, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Okay,
thanks,
take
Stephen.
care.
What a guy. Just great. And their analysis of the entire World Cup. If you've been watching the World Cup,
so good.
You've seen him, Luke, and KJ.
Yeah.
They're there every halftime. They're every pregame, every postgame, doing a bang-up job. Although we could get them some better food. We always come in and the catering is still there, and it's just like 8 pounds of sour cream, 9 pounds of chives, and that's it.
just the fixins for potatoes, not the potatoes themselves. Hound Dog ate the remaining sour cream last Thursday night that had been sitting around for probably 12 hours.
Yep. Yeah, we found it, and we said, can you pretend to eat this? And he committed to it.
The thing with Hound Dog is he commits to every acting bit we ask him to do. He genuinely, he really thinks it through. And I don't know if he thought through eating 12-hour-old sour cream, but, here's something from Stephanie.
He said he had no digestive issues.
Nothing, which surprised me.
No poopies.
Here's something from Stephanie, a podcast fan. Been seeing Hound Dog on the show a lot lately. That's the TV show. You guys should have him on the podcast. We need to know more about him. Why is he called Hound Dog? Why does he eat sour cream? So many questions. That is a good point. We should have Hound Dog on.
I don't know why he's called Hound Dog.
I don't really either. I always just thought he kind of looked maybe like one.
I'm looking outside the studio here, and Natasha Staniszewski, she's walking around like she's looking for a cat or something. Did she lose something?
Maybe she lost her wedges. Just lost a tray of wedges. Here's a guy we haven't talked to for a long time, and we've been getting many, many requests to check in with him, and we are thrilled from beautiful Coldwater Canyon in Los Angeles, California. It is the one and only Engineer Jim. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing, guys?
Are you literally living in your pool right now, Jim? Because the last update I have from the Valley, it was 118 degrees.
118, yeah. And we were lucky to lose power that day.
Holy
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh.
We 5 o'clock, whatever it was, Friday afternoon, we lost power, and we were without power for like 38 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did you do? Did you just leave the city?
You know what? I wanted to. I had to work all weekend, and my girls were in a basketball tournament and all this other stuff. So we talked about just saying the heck with all of it and leaving town. And I am not kidding you. Everybody on my section of the street, for as far as you could see, from one end to the other, it was a complete ghost town.
Wow.
Everyone left. Everybody went to hotels and everything else. I went to Home Depot and I bought a generator.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice.
And a bunch of fans. And I have one window air conditioning unit that every now and then I'll throw in like my bedroom window. We have central air, but my house is built in the 50s, and I think our bedroom's like a separate wing, and I don't know how much insulation we got. So every now and then when it gets super hot, sometimes I'll put that in for a couple of weeks in the summertime.
And then, and then while all the neighbors gone, you ransacked all their homes, correct?
Yeah, I mean, literally, it was crazy. And I had to run to the store a couple of times, and my wife was gone with the girls at the basketball tournament, and my son was home, and he and I were running to Home Depot and all this stuff. And I didn't want to shut the generator off, so I had left the back door open. But I was like, hey, Andrew, put your car in the driveway so it looks like somebody's here, because literally, I'm not kidding. You could have like shot a cannon down the street and not hit anyone. I mean, it was a complete ghost town, and I was afraid. I was totally afraid we were going to get robbed because there was nobody was here. Like,
I have a generator question.
The whole neighborhood could have robbed.
So you bought a generator to plug fans and stuff into, correct?
Yeah,
because the generators that you have for your house that come in when the power goes out and it just kicks in. How the do those work? There's no plug for your home where you just plug it into your house and an entire house is powered up. How does that work? Does anyone know? Like a whole home generator that is connected to your house, so when the power goes out, hey, you're back up.
You can tie it into your breaker box. You tie it into
the old breaker box. I knew it.
There you go. Because I have a plug on the outside of my house, basically, where I can plug a generator in the case of power going out.
Right. So that's like a couple of neighbors came over. Hey, you got a plug in the outside of your house? I'm like, no, it was built in the 50s. You know, there's two steel plates that, one's positive, one's negative that comes from the street. And it's like, I don't think I want to mess with that.
Yeah.
So,
if I do look at one of those, I'll get someone to hook it up for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dan, smart idea. You don't want to do that yourself.
Yeah, I'll bring someone in.
I just got one that I ran extension cords into my house and hooked up a bunch of power strips, and I had everything going. It worked great. I mean,
nice.
I had the fridge going, everything. It was kick-ass.
This has been Generator Talk with Jay, Dan, and Engineer Jim.
Hey, if Honda wants to throw us a couple generators, we'll try them out.
Why not?
There you go.
Why not, eh?
Yeah.
Christoph, you haven't done that drop that I was hoping to hear.
Oh, what's the drop? Hang on.
The new one.
Oh, he's looking for it. Hang on. You got to go to the little boys.
That's it.
Hey, Jim, I have a pool etiquette question.
Jim, love that.
Jim, you have a pool. Is it open to like neighbors and stuff? Do you say, hey, when we're not here or when we're here, you guys can use it whenever you want?
Yeah, I do,
okay,
yeah.
So I have that open invitation with a friend of mine, and I don't want to overuse it. How much is too much by going to someone's pool? Would you like if someone was coming by?
Wait. Let him just answer that question. Okay. How much is too much? So you've opened that up to maybe some neighbors or friends, right?
Yeah.
But how much would be too much for you, no matter how close the person was?
Honestly, it doesn't matter. I mean, if they wanted to come over and use it every day for a few hours while we were gone, it wouldn't matter to me,
Okay, good.
I will say, though, that the kids down the street last summer while we were back east on vacation, I said the same thing. Hey, guys, come over, use the pool. And in turn, they would, empty the pool filter and check to make sure there was water in the pool and all that stuff.
Okay.
And so they would come over every day, and the neighbors across the street were like, they thought something was up.
Oh, yeah.
So they came over, and they're like, hey, what are you guys doing in the Mitchell's pool? What is going on here, And they're like they're like, see, you guys come over here every day, and you're eating their vegetables, and you're swimming in their pool.
Digging through their garden.
Yeah, exactly. And they were like, oh, no, they said it was cool. They were going to be gone for a month, so we could have whatever vegetables and, to make sure the pool was okay.
That's great. Those rowdy kids stealing vegetables.
Freshly grown tomatoes.
Well, I'm glad you said that because, I've got friends and they're out of town. They said, use it whenever, but I secretly think they're watching on their pool camera and saying, those are over there again.
Yeah, they probably are. I said to Dan, as long as you brought over a nice bottle of wine or whiskey every once in a while, I think you're good.
Okay, good. Okay.
I think that's always appreciated. Some cold beers, some wine, whiskey, any or all of the above is always a good reciprocal.
And I wear a thong in the pool, so.
That's a nice touch if you're into old men with butt floss.
Well, that's
you got to go to the little boys.
I didn't want to have, Dan.
Oh God.
But yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's totally cool to let the neighbors, your friends, use the pool whenever they want.
Perfect.
But
that's all I needed to hear.
For me, it's one thing for me to skinny dip in my pool, but I don't really know if I want my neighbors swimming butt naked in my pool.
Yeah,
I won't do
You got to put the trunks on for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's only common courtesy. How's life at Fox, Jimmers? How are things? Are you cutting together lots of World Cup stuff? Because we have the World Cup up here, and Fox has the World Cup in the good old US of A.
Yes, it's been just World Cup crazy. A few weeks ago, we were really crazy. We had NASCAR, we had the U.S. Open golf, and we had World Cup all going at the same time. And Major League Baseball. It was bedlam at Fox.
So, in your department, were people there 24 hours a day?
Yeah, we actually have, and it just changed this week. But we had mixers in. I would come in from like at 6 a.m. and work till like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Then we had a mixer come in at 3 and work till 11. And then we had another guy come in at 1 a.m. and work till 9 a.m. And another guy come in at 3 a.m.
Holy crap.
Work till 11 a.m.
Wow.
And I said, don't ask me to do those.
Yeah, no. You're a veteran now. They know what they've got with you. They wouldn't piss you off.
Yeah, no.
No, they know. You're intimidating.
And yeah, so it was kind of funny because a couple of the guys going, why do we have to do that? I'm like, you got to be kidding me if you think I'm going to do that. You're like, oh yeah. Now I know why I have to do that.
You're a senior guy, my friend.
Yeah, but so Dan, you were at the U.S. Open, weren't you?
I was. It was great. I went down, ended up in the Fox hospitality tent somehow, and drank all their booze.
I love it.
That's how we roll, Jim.
I love hearing that. And you guys are having a good summer there?
Yeah,
we are. It's nice and hot here, and we're just, as we mentioned off the top of the podcast, we're counting down the days until our summer vacay, which is in now 8 work days. Not that we're counting.
I mean, right now, Jim, today it's basically 90 degrees here. And so it finally, like the weather's finally like at a place where I really, really enjoy it.
Oh, that's awesome. You guys are now hitting full summer stride.
Oh,
there.
Yes, guy.
Oh, I've got my testicles out on the desk here. There's a steam coming off of them.
On that note, Jim, we've got to run. We've got to go do a TV interview now.
Oh, my. Oh, man, it was great talking to you guys.
It was so great catching up, buddy.
Listen, we're going to call you back. I feel like, can we call you back next week and do a 6 degrees with you? Because people are going to be upset we didn't do a 6 degrees.
Of course. Anytime, guys. I love it.
All right.
Perfect.
Are the best.
You're the best, my friend. Enjoy the pool and stay cool, okay?
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Take care, buddy. That's it.
Enjoy the pool and stay cool. Stay safe.
What a good guy. Miss that guy so much. Miss seeing him.
Yeah, so we'll have Engineer Jim on next week.
We'll have him on for a quick 6 degrees, and then that'll be a nice way to head into the summer. Again, just a reminder, one more podcast after this one, and then we're off for 5 to 6 weeks, and we'll be back on Labor Day week with a whole new set of pod action.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye-bye.
You got to go to the little boys.